Infrared trichromes, the best alternative to Aerochrome. The main positives about doing infrared trichromes is that you're not using expired film and you're actually capturing infrared light. Also, you're not cheating by using a digital camera. When it comes to film stocks that are sensitive to infrared light, there's not much variety. Ilford SFX, Rolly Infrared, and a handful of other Rolly films are pretty much it when it comes to film stocks that are sensitive to infrared light. There's a new contender though, and it's available now. Film Photography Project's Black and White Infrared, also known as FPP BW Infrared. The people over at FPP have sourced this film from another manufacturer, maybe Kodak, maybe someone else. All I know though is that it's bulk loaded by FPP and it's a super thin polyester based film. That, and it's super susceptible to fogging, so best to load this film up in a dark area. Intrigued that this could ultimately become a game changer for me and become my favorite black and white infrared film, I ran out and bought 4 rolls. Eager to test it out, I grabbed my Canon EOS 30 and ran off to Mount Rainier National Park. Also, a quick side note, I've laid these photos all out in the same order. I'll have the photos in this order: infrared, red, green, then blue filtered photos. Then it will be the infrared, green, and blue trichrome photos, followed by the infrared, red, blue trichrome photos. Did you spot it? I recently traded some gear around and used that money to purchase a Canon 17-40 f4L lens. After shooting that Sigma lens at the fair, I decided I needed a professional level ultra-wide zoom lens in my collection. Basically, a single lens for landscapes that could cover multiple focal lengths. As well, a one lens setup meant one group of lens filters. Basically less gear all around. The other benefit is no more step up or step down rings. So no more vignetting in my photos and no more forgetting an integral piece of my setup when I go out to shoot. To shoot at a 17mm focal length with the filter and not have any vignettes is incredible. Canon really does go all out when making these L lenses. Anyone who's thinking about shooting FPP infrared with an auto-advancing camera though, take heed. Unfortunately, some cameras use an infrared light to help advance the film. If your camera has this technology, it could have the possibility of fogging the film. It says on FPP's website that certain Canon EOS cameras use this infrared advancing system, but it seems like this was a feature that was skipped on the Canon EOS 30. I definitely recommend doing some research on your camera before you load this film up, or use a camera that uses a manual advance. Here's a photo with some artifacts. This is a common trait with trichrome photography. When taking your photos and you have something in frame that isn't static, people, cars, animals, clouds for example. These items will look normal in your individual black and white photos, but when you layer them to make a trichrome photo, these moving culprits will be marked as a singular colored artifact. You really have two options for these things. You can either edit them out or leave them in. The choice is ultimately yours. So first impressions of film photography project's black and white infrared. It's got some good grain, and it's got some solid contrast baked right into the film. The negatives are super thin though, and I pretty much scanned and sleeved them immediately after development to keep them from getting creased, bent, or curled. As for the infrared trichrome shots, all the vegetation turns a vibrant red or magenta. As well, the skies hold a rich blue color, almost ultramarine. I ended up reducing the vibrancy of the color of the sky because I felt it was competing with the overall photo, especially next to the red vegetation. Looks like that illustration degree I got and all that time I spent learning color theories finally paying off. Why blow half your paycheck at REI buying hiking gear when you can just hike in chinos and sambas? At this point, Paradise wasn't really making that many good compositions, I felt, and it was a little too busy for my liking. So me and Claire jumped back in the car and worked our way back down the mountain. We ended up returning to a spot that you may have seen before on this channel. I like this little area. I feel like I'm always able to get some good compositions here. As well, I feel this side of the park isn't as busy, because the views of Mount Rainier aren't as good here as they are in other parts of the park.
Back on the bridge. Bum, bum, bum.
With the light beginning to fade, me and Claire worked our way back to the car and moved over to one of my favorite parts of the park. I love this little stream with all these dead trees. I just can't help but photograph this area every time I'm here. actually really like these underexposed photos. They are actually probably my favorite trichromes of the day. There's something about the shadow drop-off that just creates a moody photo. So final thoughts on film photography projects black and white infrared. It's definitely a viable film for infrared photography. I really like my black and white photos. Actually, that's not all true. I didn't really like any of the photos I got with my green filter. I've never really enjoyed the photos I get with the green filter, and at this point, I'm thinking it's time to switch it out for a different filter, and maybe even possibly a yellow-green filter. As for infrared trichrome photos, the vegetation definitely pops. The reds, magentas, and yellows I was able to achieve with this film stock really are lovely. I will say though that the latitude on this film seems to be okay. Not the best. There's definitely more shadow detail loss in dramatically lit scenes. Just something to consider with future projects. This film stock prefers bright sunny days, so shooting the fleeting light at bottom probably wasn't the best move, but you work with what you got. One thing I really did enjoy about this film stock though, is that it claims to be a 24 exposure roll, but I ended up getting 28 exposures with my Canon EOS 30. I was also very happy that the Canon EOS 30 didn't rip the film right out of the canister. Unfortunately, it's a common issue with bulk loaded film and auto advancing cameras. They just tend to yank the film out. I kid you not, when I hit exposure 25 on my first roll, my stomach sank. I decided to keep shooting though, because I've heard that film photography project sometimes gives you 27 shots per roll. Or at least that's what I've heard from other photographers who shoot FPP films, especially Aerochrome. Luckily for me, after the 28th shot, the camera decided to auto-wind the film back into the canister. I'm very happy I didn't have to take my film changing bag out and yank this film out of the camera, even though I was prepped to do it. The last thing I'll say is, it's not my favorite thing to spend a whole bunch of money on a whole new set of 77mm filters, especially the Hoya R72. The positive thing about buying these filters though, is that I can add them to any of my 35mm cameras now, with just an addition of a step-up ring. More importantly though, all these filters now fit every lens in my medium format collection. It's going to be fun using these filters with panchromatic, orthochromatic, and infrared 120 black and white film, especially in 6x6, 6x7, and 6x9 formats. As well, I'm bound to do some more infrared trichrome experimentation in the future, especially with these larger negatives. Might as well throw a wrench into my workflow, especially now after I've been able to get consistent results.